I think the combination of the cabin, the location, the cemetery, almost getting arrested,
Hey.
Wash Show Club.
Look, you can't bring me anywhere, first off.
No,
And
that's okay.
I'm not very good at like sneaking.
Following rules?
Well, that too. I like to break the rules. If there's a rule, I'll find a way around it.
All right.
We're smart. I am operating at about a 3 today. I don't know about you.
Okay, well, that'll make both of us.
I think it's really good that we're talking about what we're talking about today, just because I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I think it's been a weird week. It's just been it's been a strange week, and I feel drained today. I just figured it was my kids, but...
After spending a week up there in wedding and all the craziness that happened up in Reno when I was on vacation, I'm glad to like finally get in my own space and be home. But I still feel like it's not enough. Like I really, really want to go up to the mountains. Sorry, that's me putting my feet down.
That's kind of how I feel too. Like I just want to go put my feet in dirt, like, and ground myself. That's literally how I feel. I feel like my head has been like everywhere this last couple weeks just because of the stress that I've been dealing with personally.
Well, we're recording this a day after 4th of July, which I don't know about you, but I hate that holiday. It's my least favorite.
Really? I love it.
I absolutely hate it. Well, I also have that PTSD thing working for me.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
So, this is the first year, well, last year too. So, this year and last year are the first 2 years we haven't had a fire. That's how chaotic it is. It's
oh, that kind of fire. I'm thinking bonfire. No, you mean fire.
No, I mean, like, I'm talking about firemen.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, we've had
there's no judgment here.
We've had a fire every year except for this year. And the only reason why I think we didn't have a fire this year is because at 8:30 I was like, all right, let's go.
It was my lousy $200 worth of fireworks, like the legal fireworks.
Oh, I'll take that any day. I can't. I want no part of it. Plus, we had the earthquake, and I don't know about you, but it really screwed me up. Did it mess with you?
Well, I was gonna mention that it kind of had a different effect on me this time. I'm from Southern California. I'm used to them. Even my kids were like, "Hey, if the chandeliers aren't shaking, we're not like budging. Like we don't really care. Like it doesn't." And it was really strange because usually the dogs will react prior, like they'll bark a lot, and it was different this time. The dogs were unfazed, and everybody downstairs in my house didn't feel a thing. They didn't feel anything.
The conspiracy theories are
there is
a theory
there is a theory out there that might not have been an earthquake
just because of the location.
Because of the location was directly under the weapons base. I don't know. I mean, it was weird because it didn't feel like earthquake weather. It didn't feel like all the kind of precursors to an earthquake where the dogs act funny and bark and do their usual thing. You know what I mean? Like enough experience with earthquakes to know when it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense once it happens. Mm-hmm. It just had a weird energy yesterday. Let's put it, that's how I felt. Like it was just kind of a little off yesterday.
I felt really weird right before it happened. Like I checked myself. I was like, okay, I'm not fasting. I ate.
Were you upstairs or downstairs when you felt
upstairs.
It? We're feeling it in Vegas. Like, can you imagine what's happened in Southern California? It's probably fallen off into the ocean. I mean, that was, it was a fairly strong earthquake.
Yeah. He even made a comment to his brother, like, yeah, Melissa was fucked up for a couple hours afterwards. Because it felt like I was walking on a waterbed. Like, I was kind of woozy about it. And then I felt like just my energy, because I had just
depleted.
I had just started getting back to, like, a normal kind of baseline after the whole Reno
wedding
thing.
Yeah.
And I was just starting to get my baseline back and preparing for, this 4th of July craziness. It just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I'd maybe said like 10 words for about 4 hours.
Well, it's interesting because it's one of those things that I've had so much craziness in my life recently, especially when it comes to family. And I was around a lot of family yesterday that I think I've been practicing kind of putting a shield up around myself to kind of deflect some of the energy so it doesn't impact me as much, because, as an empath, everything has an impact if you're not like hyper aware of what's going on. Like if you kind of let it loose, I feel like if you're not aware of it, or you kind of just are lazy about it, kind of. Guard was up yesterday because I was around family, and
I think I was not in that space. I was in my own home chilling and trying to get back to my normalcy. My guard was definitely down. In my own house, I'm kind of just like, flip it, whatever,
right.
No big
It's your
deal.
it's a safe place for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm such a homebody. I would rather be home than anywhere. Even before I went up there, I kind of prepared myself. It was wedding time. My sister's extra. My sister doesn't extra. She doesn't know basic. She doesn't. She doesn't do basic.
It's because we're Virgos.
Yeah, she's a Virgo, and
we're Virgos.
Virgos are my people. For some reason, I always seem to seek them out. Both my daughters are Virgos. My sister's a Virgo. You're a Virgo. And if you're not a Pisces or an Aries, you're a Virgo in my life.
That's funny because I'm surrounded by Aries. Yeah.
My mom's an Aries. It's just those are the people that, for some reason, their energy just gravitates towards me, and me to them, and we find each other, like how we found each other. So I was home, so I was, relaxed, and then that hit, and I was like thinking to myself, I wonder if there is anything to empaths or sensitive people in earthquakes, because I've never experienced that before.
When was the last time you said you experienced an earthquake? You were like 10, right?
Yeah, I was a little kid. I was very young. I remember I got knocked off of the street. I got knocked down and a window shattered right in front of me.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense though, right? Because everything's connected, and I think there is, because why wouldn't there be? If you can feel other types of, we can feel other types of energy. Why wouldn't? There's always got to be some kind of weird electronic phenomena going on. Sorry.
I keep thinking about that EVP we got when we were talking about the basement at the Haunted Museum. Every time I hear it, it's so clear and long, and it just...
See, I don't know how you can ever become jaded to that, no matter how many times you hear shit like that. Like, it still sends a shiver up my spine. Right? I mean, it's like... And we've heard a lot. Like, just experienced things. Like, you go, oh, shit, I didn't hear that. I was only me. Still, that kind of stuff still scared me.
It felt like a warning. It didn't scare me. It kind of freaked me out, though. I think we get more stuff because we're sensitive to it. Or maybe we go into it more. I don't know about you, but when I go into stuff, I go into it, like, super open.
Yeah, for sure.
Which some people are like, that's dangerous, but I'm like, well, that's how you get them to come out.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a line between taunting and saying, like, come get me. Like, there's a difference between that and just saying, hey, I'm open if you want to communicate, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, It's not a negative way. It's a positive way of just saying, hey, if you got something to say, ears are open.
When we're talking about being like an empath, generally speaking, it's the ability to sense and feel the emotions and energy of other people and your surroundings. So I found that definition,
yes.
And then we were just talking about the earthquake. So surroundings, that totally makes sense to me right now.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know what it was called. I think for the longest time, I mean, I can remember the time from being really little to having these things happen. It's just kind of the way it's your normal, I guess, but not knowing that there was a name for it. I was mentioning to you, my son, who's 18 now, is super sensitive. And I remember, like, as he was little, he would take everything on. Like, if I was sad, he would be sad. If I was happy, he would be happy. He would know things, like, that there's no way of him knowing. And he was really, really sensitive to it when he was little, but I didn't know what it was called. I just said, oh, well, he's like me, like he's just like me. He feels everything, where I have another daughter who doesn't feel anything. She's completely oblivious, like whole and other end of the spectrum. So I never knew what it was called. I remember when I heard the word empath, I'm like, what is that? Like, you know what empathy is, but being an empath, and I remember reading about it and going, oh, it makes sense now. Like, all of it makes sense. All these years I've been going through this, and I didn't know why I felt other people when I walked into a room and I would get high anxiety. Why is that? You become agitated, or you be whatever, the environment going on, affected by it. But I felt like my eyes were open when I finally understood what I was feeling. I don't know about you, but that's how I felt. I was like kind of liberating, like, oh, okay, I'm not crazy.
For the longest time, I really didn't share that with anybody, and I certainly didn't say anything about my near-death experience to anybody. I
Right.
kept that really close to the chest. Only maybe a handful of people knew. I was working on a project with a bunch of other women, and one of the women, she's very into psychic mediums and that kind of crystals and all this kind of stuff. And she had noticed things about me that I always kind of kept under wraps. She knew when I went into an environment that I reacted a certain way and whatnot. Right. And I always played it as like my PTSD and anxiety from the shooting. I always put that on it. So she actually asked her psychic medium friend him about me. Like, can you, this person in my life, can you kind of like give me any insight? Do you see anything about them? And he said, ask her about when she died. And she told me about this, and she was like, I thought he lost his mind, so what's he talking about? And I told her what happened. I was like, that is crazy that he would know that. And she goes, he specifically said to tell you that once you die and you come back, it's like, imagine yourself on a dark street and you need help. And you're going to go to the house with the light on. You are like a porch light to these spirits. Anyway, so she told me that. And after she told me that, that kind of opened the door for me to go, okay. For the longest time, I thought I was like overly sensitive. I was emotional, dramatic, maybe crazy, kinda, or like, woo-woo.
Did you ever have your family like re-emphasize that though? Like, did they like say to you like you're overly sensitive, or like not make fun of you, but like kind of taunt you about it a little bit?
Oh yeah, all of them. I was a dramatic person, which I don't feel like I'm a dramatic. I feel like they're dramatic.
You're not dramatic.
I'm like so chill and laid back.
Yeah. You already have enough going on that you're not a person that invites drama into your life, at least what I've seen.
I avoid it like the plague. I'd rather watch somebody else's drama from afar and then kind of like take it in from outside of my own energy. I hate it. I don't like fighting, arguing. I don't like any of that stuff.
I remember my family always saying to me that I was overly sensitive, but they said it kind of in a, like, there was something wrong with me because I sensed everything. It used to really drive me crazy. Like, I would fight back.
Yeah, it's like a negative connotation when you're sensitive. It's
very much. And it's tone, right? It's like how it's delivered. Mm-hmm. You're too sensitive. You're overly sensitive. And my entire life, and just thinking that there was something just off because I felt everything. Someone can say something to you and it's like a trigger. Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
I'm feisty that way though.
I know.
Don't you tell me what I am. I know I am.
I'm the one who say I'm sensitive.
I can say it. You can't. Exactly. But I think the first time I ever realized what was going on is the two of us went to a marriage retreat. One of those retreats where you're about to kill each other, so you want to save your marriage. And without going into too much detail, I met a really incredible couple, and they were religious. So I never really thought about bringing in anything outside of the religion. And the wife came to me, and she's like, you know what? You need your house cleansed. But she was like, you really need to get your house cleansed, and I'm going to do it for you guys for free. Like, I'm just going to do it for you. And she came over, and she had a special terracotta pot that she used because of the land and the Spanish Trail and like the impact of where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And she did the whole salt around the house and the whole like blessing and cleansing of the house. And she went into certain rooms that there's no way she could have known that those rooms are where we fought the worst.
Wow.
Like my closet's probably, I don't know, 30 feet on one end and it's ridiculously, it's like stupid big. Like I don't have this many clothes, but it's like 20 feet on one end and 30 feet on this end. It's huge. He would, after working a lot, would come in here and sleep because we had a bed in here. So he could like sleep where it was quiet. Yeah, because he works graveyard.
Yeah, great.
Well, I think he was working graveyard and swing at that time. And we used to fight in here a lot. And she came in here and she was like, the energy's off the hook in here. Like it's crazy in here. And I'm like, how did she know? You know, she kind of explained a little bit to me, and that like each one of those steps kind of led me to a different person to actually understanding being an empath, like why you're sensitive to different energies in the house. Because once she cleared it, a lot of the fighting stopped.
Because like energy is a form, right? It never
Mm-hmm.
dissipates or disappears. It just changes.
Right.
And I think she obviously was sensitive.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I think that's a good thing to bring us to like the signs that you're an empath. Obviously we've kind of touched on those just from our own, but like when you feel things about people, places, etc., and always end up being right. I don't know about you, but I'm often right when it comes to those things.
Yep.
Just recently, well, an acquaintance, a friend of a friend, she was an acquaintance to me, and I knew right away it was suicide. I just knew. But that happens to me a lot, where you for whatever reason, when you feel random bouts of unexplainable mental and physical fatigue, especially after being in a public or crowded place. I spent this last few days just trying to recoup my energy just from all the people, and just I've been drained. I hate it.
Yeah.
Like
it's crowded places, right?
Yeah.
Crowded places and a lot of different energy going on at the same time.
Like when we left Virginia City, when we were up there together, and I told you before we had went up there, I said I take 3 days after Virginia City just to kind of get my energy back. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't go up there when I was up there this time, because I was like, there's a lot going on already. I don't want to add that to the mix, because I already feel like...
Yeah, I mean, you had been there a few times. That was the first time I'd been there. And, you know, when I do things, I go full out, right? So we rented a cabin on the graveyard.
Yeah, I love
Virginia City.
Even though I got scratched in that cabin, and I have a theory to why. Because you guys straight said, don't follow us, you know, you can't, and you like did this protection. I wasn't part of that.
Yeah.
You guys did it without me. And sure shit, I was the one attacked in the cabin.
Well, and at that time, I really didn't understand Reiki, and Reiki was pretty new to me at that point, and Amy had protected the car and protected the cabin. Like, she was doing the Reiki symbols. I thought she was nuts. I didn't understand it at the time, and I'm like, okay, all right, if it works, Amy, I'm down. Just want to make sure I don't get scratched or strangled or anything.
And then I show up.
I think the combination of the cabin, the location, the cemetery, almost getting arrested, Wash Show Club.
Look, you can't bring me anywhere, first off.
No, that's okay.
I'm not very good at like sneaking.
Following rules?
Well, that too. I like to break the rules. If there's a rule, I'll find a way around it. But
well, that's you and I both, but
and the funny thing is, I didn't even set foot into that cemetery just because the cops showed up. We were going to go to the Silver Terrace Cemetery in the middle of the night with our equipment, and they don't lock it. It's not locked. There are already people in there that were leaving.
Tons of people in there.
Yeah, we've seen them all night, and we were waiting for people to leave.
Well, we thought they were people.
True. There's a lot of lights in that cemetery.
A lot of lights.
Really freaky. I was so hyped up to go in there, too. And so the cops showed up as soon as they saw my car down there, which is a dead giveaway.
But I think the combination, right, of all of that energy, I mean, in Virginia City, if you've ever been there and you walk down the main street, it literally feels like you're spinning. Mm-hmm. And what I didn't understand kind of going there is that there's a huge amount of water that runs underneath the city. And so water's a conductor, and it kind of messes with your equilibrium. You just kind of feel dizzy when you're there. Or at least that was my experience. I think those situations where you walk in and you feel so much, it's like, that I came to the realization that I needed something to help me ground myself and be able to put up a bubble to blocking that. Because once I understood what being an empath was, and I don't consider myself as sensitive as you are. I think you're even more like sensitive to things than I am. And I think it's part of it's just blocking it out. But how do you protect yourself from that? How do you walk into a crowded place? How do you, when people come to you and they tell you their problems, because that's another thing that happens with empaths. They're always coming to you and saying, oh my God, this is my drama.
Strangers,
right? How do you take all of that energy and put a barrier up, a wall around you to be able to be kind and a good person, but at the same time not get impacted by all that craziness? Because it does take a toll on you. I think that's what really brought me to Reiki. But I have to say that it's been, after kind of going through the training, and I'm by no means an expert, but going through the training has really helped me put the wall up and be able to go, okay, I'm being conscious that I'm walking into a potential chaotic situation with a lot of different personalities. And how do I keep myself from feeling all of that? Because I have a big family and there's a lot of different colorful personalities. So anytime there's a family gathering, you kind of have to go in with some armor on, to be able to deal with that. Reiki basically means Rei is spiritual wisdom, Ki is life energy, and it's Japanese, and it's basically spiritually guided life energy. There's no religion attached to it. There's people of all different faiths that have become healers of Reiki. To become, a healer of Reiki, you go through this attunement, and there's different levels of the process. It makes sense when you're an empath because it responds to your positive thoughts and feelings. And I know like a lot of people hearing that might go, sure, I don't really believe it. And I was really skeptical at first until I had received a healing. And one of the things that I felt the very first time I had gone through a healing, it's like a white, when you blow bubbles for your kids, mm-hmm. and it's like all those iridescent colors around the bubble in the sunlight. It's like a big bubble around you, and it's spinning like a sphere of just energy. That's what it felt like. It's just the sphere running of energy. And the healer was just channeling that from a higher source. And they channel that energy to you, and it knows where to go. So it's really the Reiki healer is a conductor, basically, of that energy. Kind of going through that process and learning about that process is it kind of teaches you how to put that veil around you so that when you go into those situations, especially as an empath, you can block a lot of that negativity around you. And I have to say it's been a lifesaver for me, being able to kind of just say, you know what, that's not my baggage, that's not my deal, that doesn't belong to me, and I don't have to own it, is really powerful when you feel everything.